what is this theory about? It's interpreting literature in terms of psychology. Every theory falls back on every literary theory falls back on a non-literary source. And this time, it's psychology. So simply put, it's interpreting literary texts in terms of psychology. The most important thing to pay attention to when you are analyzing literary texts in terms of psychology is, of course, the mind and behavior. But in literature, we don't have real people. We have characters. They are imaginary. They're imaginary figures existing only on the page or on the stage, either on the page or on the stage. The question here is, if they're not real, why is it worth studying them? Well, there are two answers to this question. Why do we study imaginary characters? The first answer is because they reflect the mind of the author. Yes, they are imaginary, but they are the figments of the author's imagination. They are the products of the author's mind. And in this way, when you are examining those characters, you're examining the author's mind. How do we examine people psychologically? By observing their behavior and their mental output, the output of their mind, what they do, what they say, and what they create, what they give us. Yes. So, for example, dreams. Freud gave a lot of his time and energy and effort to the examination of dreams. And he even wrote this book, The Interpretation of Dreams, which is one of his books, one of his works. Because dreams are the product of the mind. So by examining dreams, we understand, we sharpen our understanding of human behavior, of an individual. So you can think of literature just like dreams, except that the author is conscious. The mind of the author is conscious while producing. So that's a big question. Is he really conscious? And that's a very tricky question. Because as you noticed in the video, there are many things we do in life, and we think we know the reason why we're doing them. But in fact, the real reason is lurking in our subconscious mind. Because literature is art. And it's the product of mental processes, subconscious processes, in the author's mind. So by studying literature from a psychological perspective, we are studying the author himself. We get to know more about the author's mind, the author's behavior, personality, right? This is one answer. I said there are two answers to the question. The question was, is it worth examining literary texts in terms of psychology? Because characters are not real people. They only exist on the page. So one answer is by examining those characters, we are examining the author's mind. The other answer is these characters, yes, it's true that they are fictional, they're imaginary, not real, but they are realistic. They're not real, but they are realistic. Now there's a difference and there's a similarity. They're not real in the sense that they don't exist in real life, in reality. But they are realistic in the sense that they reflect real behavior of real people. And when we examine those characters, you can think about it like an exercise in psychology, right? It's like you are examining. Maybe there's a message that the author wants to communicate to you through these characters. A message, like a lesson, but not a moral lesson. This is a lesson in psychology. You see, every literary theory, or whenever you apply a theory to a literary text, you're actually extracting a lesson from that text. And that lesson could be an ethical one, a moral lesson. If you're applying the psychoanalytic theory, you're extracting or trying to locate you're trying to find a psychological lesson. If you're applying the Marxist theory, you are trying to find a Marxist lesson. So they're all lessons. If I put pen to paper and start writing a poem or a short story, that's behavior. I'm writing, so I'm doing something. So what's really controlling my pen? What's really controlling my pen? Is it my conscious mind or my subconscious mind? Sometimes it's my conscious mind. Sometimes it's my subconscious mind. Because writing is also behavior. Right? Writing is also behavior. And behavior is controlled by either our conscious mind or subconscious mind, right? As I said, it's a tricky question. And we have to know, we as critics and theorists and analysts, we have to know which part of a text is produced by the author's conscious mind and which part of the text is produced by the author's subconscious mind. It's a very difficult task. This is a Herculean task. It's very difficult to determine, right? Many things we do in life are controlled by our subconscious mind. I'm thinking, like, when you go to bed, have you noticed that you always make sure that your head is away from the door, not close to the door? And when you furnish your bedroom, you always place your bed in the bedroom in a way that the pillow end of the bed is always away from the door, not close to the door. And that's an instinct, that's an unconscious drive also. It stems from the need for protection. In the past, when people used to sleep and to live and sleep in caves, there were no doors in caves. Primitive people were afraid that they would be attacked by a beast, like a bear, for example, during the night, or a wolf. So they always slept with their head away from the opening of the cave in order to be always alert in case something happens. It's an unconscious drive. It's an unconscious. There are people who study human behavior and manipulate human behavior. These drives, these instincts, they manipulate them for their own purposes. They could be selfish purposes, financial purposes, but they always manipulate them. If you Google now any watch ad, let's now do it, just for fun. Let's Google a watch advertisement. In the majority of the cases, let's just do it for fun.
Wasting time.
10-10, very good. 10-10.
Why?
It's always, I'm not going to risk saying always, but in the majority of cases, probably there is an exception to every rule, but in the majority of cases, it's 10-10.
Why?
Yeah, why? There are subliminal messages. If you look at a watch with 10-10, it looks like a smiling face, right?
Yeah.
So the dial of the watch is like a face, and the hands are shaped in the form or in the shape of a smile. So it's like the watch is smiling at you. And if you imagine a watch, say a watch ad, saying 720, this is a terrible advertisement, because it is a sad face. It's like the watch is frowning at you, right? Is mad at you. You're definitely not going to go for this brand, never. But you're going to go for this brand because it's like the watch is happy, smiling at you, and telling you, "Come on, buy me, pay for me, right? Purchase me." It's a subliminal message directed or addressed not to your conscious mind. This subliminal message is addressed to your subconscious mind. So your subconscious mind gets the message, but your conscious mind doesn't get it. These advertisements always speak to your subconscious mind. So this is one subliminal message. Another subliminal message is it looks like a tick mark. When do we mark something with a tick? When we give our consent, when we agree to it, right? When we say it's correct, which is something positive. Another subliminal message in this advertisement is it looks like the letter V. And V stands for victory. Something positive too. So this is also positive. And 10-10. 10-10. When something is very good, we say it's a perfect 10. So it's like 10 out of 10. Full mark. It's a great brand. They're telling your subconscious mind that we are the best of brands. And also, if you look at a watch saying, let's say 220, it's an ugly image of a watch. Because you see, if you think of a watch with it's a shape of a circle, and all the digits are distributed equally on both sides, and then there's this hand to the left and another hand to the right, so it provides a sense of visual balance. Visual balance means objects are arranged or distributed equally on both sides. If you want to furnish a room, would you put all your items to the left and leave the right side of the room empty? That's an ugly room, right? It would be an ugly room. So you distribute your items equally on both sides in order to